Welcome to Catholic News World.
Welcome to Catholic News World. Please subscribe to our channel. My name is Steph. Here are this week's breaking news headlines.
During a Catholic school Holy Mass, a shooting occurred just before 8:30 a.m. when a gunman approached the side of the church and fired a rifle through the windows at the children and other worshipers in the pews in Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. The shooting occurred at Annunciation Church on August 27, 2025. Pope Leo XIV sent a telegram of prayer and condolences following the shooting at the church. The Pope expressed his heartfelt condolences and the assurance of spiritual closeness to all those affected by this terrible tragedy, especially the families now grieving the loss of a child. The telegram, signed by Cardinal Pietro Parolin, Secretary of State, says the Pope commends the souls of the deceased children to the love of Almighty God and prays for the wounded, as well as the first responders, medical personnel, and clergy who are caring for them and their loved ones. An 8-year-old and 10-year-old who were sitting in pews lost their lives and 18 others were injured in the Wednesday morning shooting, police said. Their parents identified the victims as Harper Moyski, a joyful big sister, and Fletcher Merkel, who loved any sport that he was allowed to play. 15 of the injured victims were children ages 6 to 15, and 3 adults who were shot were parishioners in their 80s. All of those injured are expected to survive, police explained. Dozens of rounds were fired, the chief said, and he called it a deliberate act of violence against innocent children and other people worshiping. The gunman, a 23-year-old named Robin Westman, died at the back of the church from a self-inflicted gunshot. The gunman was armed with a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol, and police believe he fired from all 3 weapons, Police Chief Brian O'Hara noted. These kids were literally praying, an emotional Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry said at a news conference. It was the first week of school. They were in a church. These are kids that should be learning with their friends. They should be playing on the playground. They should be able to go to school or church in peace without the fear or risk of violence, and their parents should have the same kind of assurance. This kind of act of evil should never happen, and it happens far too often, he said. 2 children are in critical condition, police said. The shooter, Robin Westman, whose name was previously Robert, once attended the school. Westman's mother worked for the parish before retiring in 2021. Westman wrote, "I know this is wrong, but I can't seem to stop myself." In a note to family, the shooter mentions being deeply depressed.
Please subscribe to our channel.
Pope Leo XIV appealed for a permanent ceasefire in the Holy Land and joined the Orthodox and Catholic Patriarchs of Jerusalem in their statement for an end to the war. At the end of the Wednesday general audience at the Vatican, the Pope said last Friday, "We accompanied our brothers and sisters suffering because of war with prayer and fasting. Today, I return to make a strong appeal to both the parties involved and the international community to end the conflict in the Holy Land, which has caused so much terror, destruction, and death. I implore that all hostages be released, a permanent ceasefire be reached, the safe entry of humanitarian aid be facilitated, and humanitarian law be fully respected, in particular the obligation to protect civilians and the prohibitions on collective punishment, the indiscriminate use of force, and the forced displacement of populations. I join in the joint declaration of the Greek Orthodox and Latin Patriarchs of Jerusalem, who yesterday called for an end to this spiral of violence, an end to the war, and a priority for the common good of the people. Let us implore Mary, Queen of Peace, source of consolation and hope. May her intercession obtain reconciliation and peace in that land so dear to all."
Please subscribe to our channel.
In Pakistan, devastating floods have left nearly 800 people dead. The rains began in June and triggered flash floods and lake outbursts. Roads, villages, farmland, and livestock have been washed away, displacing over 1 million. Father Kaiser Faraz, a Capuchin priest, told Fides, "The situation is very serious. It is terrible. In Punjab alone, there are over 1.5 million people who have been made homeless due to the floods. These people live on the streets, and is an enormous effort to care for them. In my parish of Baiferu, south of Lahore, today we help 32 families who no longer have anything, neither homes nor fields, by giving them food so they can survive." The priest said of the emergency suffered by the population of the province in central Pakistan. Meanwhile, the Punjab government has launched one of the largest evacuation operations in recent years after the rains and flooding of the rivers have displaced over 1.5 million people in the province. Extremely severe flooding, with the province's worst flooding in 40 years, with hundreds of villages destroyed and agricultural land completely submerged. The water has inundated houses and buildings, including churches and farmland. It has caused massive devastation to the province. The Christian communities are trying their best, but this is the worst flooding in decades and resources are inadequate, says Father Faraz, also pointing to the plight of children. Approximately 25 million cannot go to school and will not be able to do so for who knows how long, he notes, adding that more than 200 children have died in the floods in the past 2 months, adding to the approximately 800 flood victims so far. Heavy monsoon rains and the release of excess water from dams in Indian Territory have caused the 3 rivers Sutlej, Ravi, and Chenab, which flow through the Punjab region, to swell, forcing authorities to breach their banks in some places, leading to flooding in over 1,400 villages. The government is setting up temporary shelters and medical aid centers for the displaced and ensuring they are provided with essentials such as food, water, and hygiene items. In addition, 200,000 head of livestock have been relocated to safe locations. The Disaster Management Authority said about 700 temporary shelters and 265 medical aid stations have been set up in the flood-affected areas, while compensation payments are also being considered, reported FIDES News. Please pray for those affected.
Please subscribe to our channel.
Pope Leo XIV was awarded the Medal of St. Augustine, awarded by the United States Augustinian province of St. Thomas of Villanova. The Pope expressed his gratitude and noted that spirituality of St. Augustine, Doctor of the Church, has touched his life and ministry. The Augustinian province wrote on Facebook that the Medal of St. Augustine is the highest honor the province can bestow, given to those who embody the spirit and teachings of Augustine, living with deep commitment to truth, unity, and charity. To be recognized as an Augustinian, it's an honor held dearly. So much of who I am I owe to the spirit and the teachings of Augustine, he said in a video message posted on St. Augustine's feast day, August 28th. The province continued, from his early years in formation to his decades of service in Peru, leadership as prior general, and now as the first Augustinian pope, Pope Leo XIV has witnessed to a life of generosity, faith, and service. In him, we see a true son of Augustine, dedicated to building unity in the church, teaching with wisdom, and shepherding with a heart rooted in love. We are honored to bestow upon him this award. Pope Leo XIV sent a video message, recorded from Castel Gandolfo, where he spent some time of prayer and rest in August. The Pope explained that the life of St. Augustine still inspires the faithful now. His life was full of much trial and error, like our own lives. But through God's grace, through the prayers of his mother, Monica, and the community of good people around him, Augustine was able to find the way to peace for his restless heart, he said. The life of St. Augustine and his call to servant leadership reminds us that we all have God-given gifts and talents, and our purpose, fulfillment, and joy comes from offering them back in loving service to God and to our neighbor. It is within our hearts where God speaks to us. He added, the world is full of noise, and our heads and hearts can be flooded with many different kinds of messages. These messages can fuel our restlessness and steal our joy. As a community of faith, may we strive to filter the noise, the divisive voices in our heads and hearts, and open ourselves up to the daily invitations to get to know God and God's love better. The Pope concluded his message saying, "May God bless you all and bring peace to your restless hearts, and help you continue to build a community of love, one in mind and heart, intent upon God."
Watch our program every Friday at 7:30 p.m. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to Catholic News World's channel. God bless.